Well, usually when I do these videos, I like to start the cigar and then talk about it. Today, I lit up. I enjoyed it for a bit. Sat outside. We have a very unseasonably warm March day, so I decided to enjoy the first half of the cigar on my own before I shared my thoughts with you. What we have today is a Romeo y Julieta. It is a Cuban cigar. This is the Romeo number 3. It comes in a fancy little package like this. And I guess I probably could have recorded the lighting because it was a bit of a display. These cigars, they have a little cedar slip inside. So the way I lit the cigar is I just let the cedar slip on fire and then I lit my cigar with it. I got that from a Davidoff video by the guys who own Davidoff, which is, I forget their names. Anyways, I think I've done other videos on Romeo and Julieta on this channel. And a lot of the time, I've had bad experiences with this particular brand in terms of Cuban cigars. They are the most inconsistent for me. They have been some of the worst damaged cigars that I got from the tobacconist. The ones I have are a box. First full box of cigars I've ever acquired in my life, and they were a gift. I'm about 5 into the box of 10. I did share one with a friend of mine, but the rest I've greedily consumed myself because, that happens sometimes. What I found is these came directly from Cuba. My friend was in Cuba. He literally got back from Cuba, and he said, hey, I got you some cigars. And, he came over and he dropped them off. So that day, I smoked one right out of the box. And I'll tell you, right out of the box, off the plane, directly from Cuba, the experience was something else. As they've sat here and they've gotten a little bit drier, there's been some evolution, so they're a little more bitter than they were. It's a fairly even burn, and the size is, a size I like. It's practically a Corona, but they call it some sort of a Robusto. I don't know. But one of the things I discovered the second time I was smoking one of these is I like whiskey, I like bourbon. I have Angel's Envy. And I have to admit that the Angel's Envy wasn't quite as good as I had hoped it would be when I got it. I mean, that's just, not that it's a bad whiskey, it's just for my own taste. I was like, this might not be for me. But that's what I have in the glass today because I had paired some Angel's Envy with one of these cigars, and I realized that even though it's not a super sweet bourbon, it's really sort of played down. It is a little overproof. It's 43.6%. It's not super sweet, so it's not competing with the cigar. And that's the day I discovered just how I should be enjoying my Angel's Envy bourbon, and that is with a medium to mild cigar. That's some Elijah Craig, and I paired it with some nice cigars too, but this pairing is crazy good because, like I've said, Romeo y Julieta and Cuban cigars have never really been my thing. Angel's Envy wasn't really my thing. Put them together, all of a sudden, it's a whole new thing that happens to be a version of my thing. And I have to say, yeah, there it is right there. That's exactly why. So I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. I drink the bourbon. It's got your standard bourbon notes, and there's a slightly vinegary thing in here that I noticed, but I'm really sensitive to tangy flavors. A little, caramely, sugary, but not super sweet. Currently my favorite bourbon is Knob Creek, which is really quite sweet. And you smoke the cigar, you drink the bourbon. It doesn't impact the bourbon as much as going back to the cigar after the bourbon. That was a surprise. Often you'll smoke the cigar and then you'll have a sip of your bourbon, and that's how the pairing works. This is sort of backwards for me, and I find it, quite enjoyable. So I guess when it comes to me and Cuban tobacco, the secret is pair it with a bourbon that's not my favorite. I didn't see that coming, but these brands are big for a reason, and they know what they're doing for a reason. But right off the top, with the Romeo y Julieta, they give you a nice presentation because you get a little tube that it goes in, and it's fancy. It's got a version of the band on the tube, and then obviously there's one wrapped around the cigar. It's classic, not super fancy. It lends itself to the brand. It's identifiable and simple, which I like. But the pairing was quite surprising to me. And I go from having a Cuban cigar that maybe I get partway through the final third and I get rid of it, to having what the Dry Creek Wrangler refers to as a mustache burner. That's what I like about this hobby. You learn new things all the time. There it is again. I don't know what it does. It's almost like when you drink the bourbon, you go back to the cigar, it's almost like fresh baked goods and like donut dough. I have no idea. It's like the aftertaste you get from that. But the cigar on its own, meh. The bourbon on its own, meh. Put them together, winning combination. Who knew? Not me. But that's why I like this hobby. That's why I experiment. That's what makes it fun for me. Keep it a hobby, not a habit. Take the time to take her easy. And until the next time, cheers.